Let's get the views now of former business secretary and, of course, the former leader of the Liberal Democrats, who was booked onto the programme to talk about the economy. But now we have to talk about politics. Sir Vince Cable, welcome to the programme. And another massive political developing story. Your reactions, Sir Vince?
Well, it's not totally surprising. I mean, I think Boris Johnson's candidacy was never really a runner. They still have this inquiry hanging in the House of Commons. And I suspect that the talks between Sunak and Johnson over the last day or so have been striking a deal whereby he stands down and the Tory party use their whip to not pursue this inquiry. I mean, that would be a good outcome for Johnson. But he was never a plausible candidate, I think. I mean, so much antipathy to in the country and in his own party. And I think it's good for the country. We're not going to have the massive uncertainty. We're not going to have the problem of a prime minister who believes in cakeism, having your cake and eat it, having to preside over a very difficult set of fiscal choices. So I think from a national point of view, it's a better outcome than we had a few minutes ago.
What are the implications for the economy, do you think, if Rishi Sunak, as is highly likely, becomes our next prime minister?
Well, it seems very likely he will stick with Jeremy Hunt and they'll pursue an orthodox economic policy. It will be very, very painful. We don't just have the pressure on spending, but I think there will probably be substantial tax increases. Whoever's going to be in power, whether it's whichever Tory it is or indeed a new Labour government, is going to be faced with a horrendous problem of maintaining a stable budget and debt management. And they're going to involve some very painful austerity in public spending and, above all, tax increases. And I think within a week or so, Mr. Sunak's popularity, such a detail, is going to evaporate rather quickly.
Yes, of course, you were business secretary during that coalition government. You inherited, as Lib Dems, along with the Tories, an economic crisis, the credit crunch, the global economic downturn. Do you think the challenges that face us now dwarf that particular event in the early 2010s?
Well, they're different. In some ways, the financial crisis was more serious. I mean, the deficit we were running on the budget was rather bigger, and of course we just had the collapse of the banking system, the drying up of credit. But I think what was different was that at that time, we did have competent and stable governments. I mean, both the Darling-Gordon-Brown duo handled the crisis well, in my view, and the coalition did what it had to do over a period of years. It was painful for my party, as we know, but I think from a national interest point of view, we had 5 years of stable government taking tough decisions in the national interest, and it helped to stabilise the economy.
Indeed. What is your overview about the viability of the British economy, Sir Vince? Because clearly now what we're looking at, as you've mentioned, is orthodox economics. Taxes are going to go up, austerity 2.0. Can Britain bounce back? There are some positives, aren't there? It looks like inflation may have peaked or is close to its peak. Global energy prices are coming down, and we have low unemployment. So it's not all lost for the British economy, is it?
Well, it's not all lost, and this country has some very great strengths. I mean, some of our institutions are very robust. Our universities, our independent monetary authority. Basically, our legal system. I mean, we're not a corrupt country. I mean, all those are advantageous. But I think in terms of the economy, you're right that the position may not be as bad as it's appeared, certainly in terms of short-term growth. But in the long run, what we've got to focus on are issues like, building up the skill base. It's a long-standing problem, getting business investing again. Productivity, which is historically been very low in those countries. And these are long-term challenges. We were trying to tackle them through things like the industrial strategy, but it requires governments over a 10-year period to attend to these problems. And the very short-term crisis management that we got at the moment is not conducive to solving those problems.
So, Vince, let me ask you a political question. We think it's likely that Rishi Sunak will be our next Prime Minister. Of course, never say never in terms of Penny Mordaunt. She may hit 100 and she'd be within her rights to take that vote to the membership. However, if Rishi Sunak gets into number 10 either on tomorrow afternoon or on Friday, how do you anticipate the outcome of the next election going? Do you think Labour are still a shoo-in as the largest party, or even to achieve a majority?
Well, I think it's very likely that there'll be a change of government. I think that the spectacular leads that the Labour Party has at the moment are not going to be sustained. I mean, Sunak is a sort of competent, reassuring figure. I think if I were, putting some money at the bookmakers tonight, it would be on a Labour government, but probably not with a large majority, and maybe not with a large overall majority.